Welcome to A Year of War and Peace. I'm your host, Brian E. Denton. A Year of War and Peace is a daily, year-long, chapter-by-chapter reading of and meditation on Leo Tolstoy's epic novel, War and Peace. In these videos and podcasts, you'll be treated to a free reading of one chapter per day of the novel, plus a reflective essay I've written individually tailored to that day's chapter. These readings are offered for free, though if you'd like to support me, you can do so in one of three ways. First, you could purchase my ebook, A Year of War and Peace. It features the entire novel, plus all of my reflective essays, and it's only $2.99 on Amazon.com. You could also become a patron at patreon.com/Brian E. Denton. If you sign up there, you'll receive a sonnet once a month, plus a link to an ebook of my collected sonnets. Finally, if you like, you can make a one-time donation to my PayPal account. The email there is brianedenton@gmail.com. You can also use that email to contact me. I'd be happy to hear from you. Your support is greatly appreciated.
Today's reading is Chapter 155. Chapter 155. Morning came with its cares and bustle. Everyone got up and began to move about and talk. Dressmakers came again. Maria Dmitrievna appeared, and they were called to breakfast. Natasha kept looking uneasily at everybody with wide-open eyes, as if wishing to intercept every glance directed toward her, and tried to appear the same as usual. After breakfast, which was her best time, Maria Dmitrievna sat down in her armchair and called Natasha and the Count to her. "Well, friends, I have now thought the whole matter over, and this is my advice," she began. "Yesterday, as you know, I went to see Prince Bolkonsky. Well, I had a talk with him. He took it into his head to begin shouting, and I am not one to be shouted down. I said what I had to say." "Well, and he?" asked the Count. He is crazy. He did not want to listen, but what's the use of talking? As it is, we have worn the poor girl out," said Maria Dmitrievna. "My advice to you is to finish your business and go back home to Otradano and wait there." "Oh, no!" exclaimed Natasha. "Yes, go back," said Maria Dmitrievna, "and wait there. If your betrothed comes here now, there will be no avoiding a quarrel. But alone with the old man, he will talk things over and then come to you." Count Rostov approved of this suggestion, appreciating its reasonableness. If the old man came around, it would be all the better to visit him in Moscow or at Bald Hills later on, and if not, the wedding, against his wishes, could only be arranged at Otradano. "This is perfectly true, and I am sorry I went to see him and took her," said the old Count. "No, why be sorry? Being here, you had to pay your respects. But if he won't, that's his affair," said Maria Dmitrievna, looking for something in her reticule. "Besides, the trousseau is ready, so there is nothing to wait for. And what is not ready, I'll send after you. Though I don't like letting you go, it is the best way. So go, with God's blessing." Having found what she was looking for in the reticule, she handed it to Natasha. It was a letter from Princess Mary. "She has written to you. How she torments herself, poor thing. She's afraid you might think that she does not like you. But she doesn't like me," said Natasha. "Don't talk nonsense," cried Maria Dmitrievna. "I shan't believe anyone. I know she doesn't like me," replied Natasha boldly as she took the letter, and her face expressed the cold and angry resolution that caused Maria Dmitrievna to look at her more intently and to frown. "Don't answer like that, my good girl," she said. "What I say is true. Write an answer." Natasha did not reply, and went to her own room to read Princess Mary's letter. Princess Mary wrote that she was in despair at the misunderstanding that had occurred between them. Whatever her father's feelings might be, she begged Natasha to believe that she could not help loving her as the one chosen for her brother, for whose happiness she was ready to sacrifice everything. "Do not think, however," she wrote, "that my father is ill-disposed towards you. He is an invalid, and an old man who must be forgiven. But he is good and magnanimous, and will love her who makes his son happy." Princess Mary went on to ask Natasha to fix a time when she could see her again. After reading the letter, Natasha sat down at the writing table to answer it. "Dear Princess," she wrote in French quickly and mechanically, and then paused. What more could she write, after all that had happened the evening before? Yes, all that has happened, and now all is changed," she thought as she sat with the letter she had begun before her. Must I break it off with him? Must I really? That's awful. And to escape from these dreadful thoughts, she went to Sonia and began sorting patterns with her. After dinner, Natasha went to her room and again took up Princess Mary's letter. Can it be that all is over? She thought. Can it be that all this happened so quickly and has destroyed all that went before? She recalled her love for Prince Andrew in all its former strength, and at the same time felt that she loved Kuragan. She vividly pictured herself as Prince Andrew's wife, and the scenes of happiness with him she had so often repeated in her imagination, and at the same time, aglow with excitement, recalled every detail of yesterday's interview with Anatoly. Why could that not be as well? She sometimes asked herself in complete bewilderment. Only so I could be completely happy, but now I have to choose, and I can't be happy without either of them. Only, she thought, to tell Prince Andrew what has happened, or to hide it from him are both equally impossible. But with that one, nothing is spoiled. But am I really to abandon forever the joy of Prince Andrew's love, in which I have lived for so long? Please, miss, whispered a maid entering the room with a mysterious air. A man told me to give you this, and she handed Natasha a letter. Only for Christ's sake, the girl went on, as Natasha, without thinking, mechanically broke the seal and read a love letter from Anatoly, of which, without taking in a word, she understood only that it was a letter from him, from the man she loved. Yes, she loved him, or else how could that have happened which had happened? And how could she have had a love letter from him in her hand? With trembling hands, Natasha held that passionate love letter which Dólokhov had composed for Anatoly, and as she read it, she found in it an echo of all that she herself imagined she was feeling. Since yesterday evening, my fate has been sealed, to be loved by you or to die. There is no other way for me, the letter began. Then he went on to say that he knew her parents would not give her to him. For this there were secret reasons he could reveal only to her. But that if she loved him, she need only say the word yes, and no human power could hinder their bliss. Love would conquer all. He would steal her away and carry her off to the ends of the earth. Yes, yes, I love him, thought Natasha, reading the letter for the 20th time and finding some peculiarly deep meaning in each word of it. That evening, Maria Dmitrievna was going to the Arkovs and proposed to take the girls with her. Natasha, pleading a headache, remained at home. All right, that concludes my reading of chapter 155. I hope you liked it. I'll now proceed to my reflection on the same. A Year of War and Peace, Day 155. Greater kindness and tender compassion. Existence is senseless. At least it appears that way sometimes, populated as it is with so many bad actors, natural disasters, and people who continue to insist the Rolling Stones are worthy of comparison to the Beatles. In the equation of life, then, human absurdity is the constant, and an individual's response to adverse circumstances is the variable. Author Schopenhauer, longtime friend of A Year of War and Peace, helps us solve for this equation with his suggestion that aesthetic experience is intimately related to truly understanding the world. Recent social science seems to support him. So what can art tell us about a major question in today's chapter? How best to respond to irrational, angry, and harmful men? Sometimes the best guidance is to know what not to do. Michael Corleone, patriarch of the Corleone crime family, offers us a prime example of what not to do. In his life, he's confronted with all manner of bad men who test his character. His greatest test of character comes when he learns that his brother Fredo has betrayed him to a rival crime organization. Of all the potential responses to this information, Michael Corleone chooses first to ostracize his brother, and then to have him killed. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that in all of history of virtue ethics, fratricide finds no serious advocate. Indeed, we see the horrible results of this act for Michael Corleone. A life of guilt, regret, familial breakup, and worse, a starring role in the failure of a sequel that is The Godfather Part 3. Natasha Rostova's Fredo is old Prince Bolkonsky. It's the old prince's unreason and poor character in part that has placed her in her current predicament. If he were to have responded to news of his son's engagement like a normal human being, things would have gone, probably, a bit more smoothly. Instead, his action has led Natasha to be introduced to Anatoly Kuragin with potentially disastrous results. Fortunately for Natasha, this chapter offers her 3 paths of response to dealing with someone like the old prince. The first path is shown by Maria Dmitrievna. She counsels that Natasha return immediately to Otradanya with her family. The idea is that if Natasha remains in Moscow, she might be party to a dispute between the young Prince Bolkonsky and the old prince when the younger returns to town. This, it is felt, might sour the relationship. Better to wait it out. The second path is shown by Princess Mary. She has written a letter to Natasha. In that letter, she first apologizes for the calamity that was their earlier meeting. She then argues that Natasha should forgive the old prince for his poor behavior. He's old and cranky, and at heart, he wants what is best for his son. The third and final path is shown by Anatoly Kuragin. He writes Natasha a letter inviting her, little Robert Lovelace that he is, to elope with him against her family's wishes. That's probably not the best of ideas. A Year of War and Peace is big on forgiveness. We'd go with Princess Mary on this one. We'd go with her anywhere. She's great. Daily meditation. No soul should be hated, none neglected. Nay, rather their very imperfections should demand greater kindness and tender compassion. Abdu'l-Bahá, The Promulgation of Universal Peace. All right, so that concludes my reading of and reflection on chapter 155. I hope you liked it. Thanks so much for listening. Remember that if you'd like to support me, you can do so either by purchasing the ebook, A Year of War and Peace, becoming a patron at patreon.com, or making a one-time donation to PayPal. The links to all that are down below in the show notes. Tomorrow, we're going to be reading and reflecting on chapter 156. I hope you join me. Until then, take care of yourselves and others.